Thanks, Dennis, and very happy to be here and have the great opportunity to introduce Daryl Weber. But backtracking a little bit, I've seen all the people up at the table and out here. We all go back quite a ways. I don't know if I watched Kenny and Chuck wrestle for Bob at Sacred Heart when I was just getting started in Gilbertville, and watch those guys come up, and you know, and even Jim Miller. Every once in a while, they let him come to Westlaw. He snuck across, yeah. But anyway, you know, and having wrestled and run the high school with Coach Gable, it's just kind of like a home awakening here and seeing everybody. Plus, always a great turnout from the Don Bosco people that have been so supportive for wrestling year in and year out for 40-some years now. And, a lot of what I was able to accomplish as a coach was due to the great support of people like this and young men like Daryl. So anyway, congratulations to all the other inductees. I remember having a conversation with Coach Gable. Was probably the spring of 1991. Daryl had just graduated from high school, or was in the process of graduating from high school. Had just finished his senior year, and I called. I'd been working camps. Bob Siddons and I would come down and work some summer camps, and I said, Dan, I said, I think I got a young man here that, you know, is somebody that would fit into your program real well. He said, are you sure? Of course, yeah. He was, be sure. Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And I said, yeah, you know, this guy, we've had a lot of hard workers, and he's right up there at the top and willing to put in the extra time and so on, and he has a great attitude about that. I said, I think you'll like him. He said, all right. Coach Gable's not a man of a lot of words sometimes. When we were in high school, he used to, you know, I don't think he ever completed sentences, was he? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Anyway, he's come a long way, hasn't he? Not only as a wrestler and a coach, but also as a speaker. But, so Daryl, he had some other offers, and I think the question that I put to him, I don't know if he remembers this or not, I said, where is it going to be the place that you have the best chance? I know what your ultimate goal is, to be a national champion. Where is the place that you think can get that job done for you? And he thought maybe Iowa. And I said, I think so too. So, yeah. That rest is history then. Daryl came back after a great career at Iowa, and actually during sometimes when he was still there, and we kind of worked a little summer camp. He did all the hard work, I did all the paperwork. I was in charge of ordering the t-shirts for the camp. Okay? That's easy enough. I was the athletic director. I was always ordering t-shirts. But this one year, Daryl's dad was a part owner of a an auto repair shop. Okay, so Pat said, "Hey, you know, can we get somebody to help sponsor this? We can buy these t-shirts and so on." Sure. And so when the t-shirt came in that year, and on the back, it said, Weber and Hazlett Automotive, where champions are made. And Daryl says, that doesn't look right. But I guess part of that was true. We had a champion out of the Webers. And Brother Lee was a state champion as well. So anyway, I guess I kind of fell down on my part there, got getting it right, but it was kind of funny. I still have that shirt. The one thing that probably would hold true for all these guys and some others, the fact that they're very hard workers. They're very hard workers, they're dedicated. You've heard the stories, you know. Wrestling is not an easy sport. I think everybody agrees that. Everybody that's done it knows that. But it is a sport that has a lot of self-satisfaction there. And if, as Kenny said, if you don't win, you get up and go back again, you know. And that's the way life is. And so there's a lot of carryover from that. Daryl was kind of scared me when he was a young, maybe freshman or sophomore. He used to, believe it or not, he used to actually jog in the morning. But he came out there when it was in the fall already. He was knocking at the door. The school wasn't open then. He says, "Coach, can I get in and work out a little bit?" I said, "Daryl, it's 2 months before wrestling season starts." "I know, but I want to get ready." So, yeah. But I never had too many experiences like that before. And my main concern was, will Daryl be ready to wrestle, or he be tired of wrestling by the time November and December get here? He wasn't. So anyway, that was just an example of his commitment and his intensity with doing that kind of thing. One of the things that really sticks out in my mind, and something that I appreciated a great deal as a coach, was, and most of the guys out here know that we came from a small school, didn't have large numbers a lot of times. I think there were 9 boys in your high school class, your graduating class in 1991. 2 of them were state champions, and another one was a state qualifier. So we did pretty well from that standpoint. But we asked some guys to move around some weights to give our team a better chance to win. You know, after a while, people kind of expected that. And I know I went to Daryl on a number of occasions to move him around. One day he wasn't feeling very good. We had a big meet coming up with one of our major rivals at that time, Union. LaPorte, was just LaPorte City at the time, so maybe a lot of you Iowa people will recognize that name. Who, by the way, happens to be coached by a Don Bosco guy now. So anyway, and it was a big rivalry, and it was going to be tough. They always had good teams. It was always a good meet. And I went to Daryl and asked him if he would move up a week. He wasn't feeling very good. He had a terrible cold and so on. You know, never batted an eye. "Yeah, Coach, I'll do it." Okay. He lost that meet. We won the meet, but he lost that match. And I kind of felt bad, like, yeah, we probably, lost that because he wasn't feeling good and he did something, sacrificed for the team. But that was Daryl Weber. And Coach Gable can attest to the fact, here's a 3-time All-American, as you read in the bio, but what you didn't read is that it was at 3 different weights. And he was willing to sacrifice and work hard and do something for the team. I'm sure that 142-pound weight class was, that wasn't much fun, was it? Did you help him get down the weight? He did it himself, okay. And it was at the end of the year. Probably today it might not have been able to happen with the new regulation. I don't know. Anyway, but he did make that sacrifice and was able to be a 3-time All-American. I'll never forget the match down in North Carolina. That basketball school. They have the worst seats of any place in the United States. They host 22,000, it should hold 15,000. I don't know. There's no basketball players going to sit in those seats because their knees would be up around their nose. But anyway, let it be. Daryl drew the first, the number 3 seed in the first round. And knew it was going to be an uphill battle. Anytime you get number 3 seed, and especially the fact that, he was working hard at 142, which is probably a weight lower than he had wrestled all year, except for the very end. And the match is tied. They go into overtime. And now you're thinking, this guy's just sacrificed a lot. He's got down. Does he have a gas tank? Well, and the first few seconds of the overtime, he hits him with what, I don't know what it was, a double or whatever. Anyway, knocks the guy down, moves up, ends up pinning the guy, and then went on to place at 142. That is exactly the type of thing that Daryl Weber would do. So, let's hear from Daryl.
Thank you, Coach, and thanks everybody that's involved in this just amazing event for my nomination and me being selected. It's a huge honor. There's so many people in this building that have had such a tremendous effect on me, positive effect. Some of you probably don't even know what you've shown me over the years, the effect that you've had on me over the years. But and to me tonight is, we're recognizing a lot of accomplishments. But to me, I want to recognize the people that were there for me. That the reason that I was able to accomplish the things that I accomplished. But before I get started, there's a lot of people from Don Bosco here, and I just want to clear the air with something that's been going around for a number of years. I did a wrestling camp. I used to run some wrestling camps down in Georgia, and I would have different clinicians come in. And one year I had Randy Lewis come in, and Mac Ryder was there, and Cole Conrad from Minnesota. They all came in, and one evening we went to a local eating establishment to have a counselors meeting, and we were meeting. We were talking, and Randy Lewis, if you guys know Randy Lewis, he kind of instigated a conversation, and he says, "So who's Mr. Don Bosco?" Because he's got me and Mac Ryder there, and well, we got to debating, and it went long into the night, and we finally left. And we left with a decision, but it wasn't a unanimous decision. Mac and Randy were on one side, I was on the other, and Mac and Randy decided that I was Mr. Don Bosco. Yeah, that's Mr. Don Bosco right there. Okay, Coach Mashek. But to everybody else, that's Mr. Don Bosco. But to Randy Lewis and Mac Ryder, I'm Mr. Don Bosco. So just to clear the air on that, so you guys all know how it went down. But I'm a high school coach now. I've been a high school coach for 15 years now down in Virginia, and as a high school coach, I know there's a lot of high school coaches in here. You're always trying to get certain messages across to your athletes, and one message that I get across to them all the time, or try to get across to them all the time, is just extremely apparent tonight. And I try to tell them that as a wrestler, if you want to be a good wrestler, you got to be willing to do things that most people won't do. They might look at you a little bit funny. To be a good wrestler, you got to be a little goofy. And I mean, tonight, that's never more apparent tonight. There's so many good wrestlers in here. And there's a lot of goofballs in here, too. Right? And there's two examples I always use when I talk to my wrestlers about it. And one is Tom Hogan. He probably doesn't even remember this, but I remember when I was 8th or 9th grade, and he might have been messing with me, I don't even know. But he told me, I can't remember if you were telling me or just telling a group, but he said how he used to be bad in the bottom position when he was younger, and he fixed it every time he would get off the couch to go to the kitchen to get a soda or something like that. He would roll off the couch onto his base and hit a stand up, and then go in a stance all the way down the hallway. All right, was that even true? You don't know. Anyway, all my wrestlers think I'll show them something. I say, do this in your living room. This guy that I know from high school, he's a coach now. He used to do that. And then the other one is Coach Gable. I don't even know if this is true, but I used to hear stories that Coach Gable, when he couldn't find a wrestling mat, you could see him down on the sandbanks on the Cedar River wrestling guys. And I mean, that's pretty goofy, Coach. I mean, if somebody drove by, and saw two guys wrestling on a sandbar in the Cedar River, I mean, that's what you got to do. Was that true? Yeah. See? So, Black Hawk Creek. Okay. Well, I knew there was some truth to it. So, those are my two go-to stories when my guys kind of start rolling their eyes at me. I go, well, these guys, this is what they did. But to get serious, we've heard this a couple times tonight, and really, I'm a firm believer that the successes that you have are determined by the people you're surrounded with, and we've heard that a couple times tonight. And sometimes you get to choose those people, and sometimes you're blessed with those people or cursed with those people that surround you, depending on your situation. But from the get-go, I was extremely blessed with the people that surrounded me. Starting with my family, my parents, Pat and Peggy Weber, they're here. They sacrificed so much for what I wanted to do. The second I started wrestling, I fell in love with it, and they never denied me of anything. Took me to tournaments, took me to practice. In the off season, they drive me to the IWHOF Club with Marty Dickey. Just anything I needed to excel in the sport of wrestling or anything else, they were there, and they taught me. They taught me what really led to my successes, and it was hard work and being positive. And I tell my wrestlers, the definition of mental toughness is the ability to be positive in the lowest of lows. And that's what my dad is the hardest working guy I've ever met. My mom is the most positive person I've ever met. If you know both, you'll probably agree with me. And those two traits, I learned from them. My brother, I got to thank him for his friendship, his support over the years. It wasn't always peaches and cream. There was a lot of lessons that my parents had to teach me along the way as well. I remember I was in 7th or 8th grade, and I'd gone through like the city league, and I was undefeated, and went to a tournament like in Dyer or somewhere, I don't even know, Dyersville, Beckman, or somewhere outside of our area, and lost the first match I'd lost all season. And another thing I give credit to my parents for is they encouraged me. They were positive. They were always there, but they let me develop an internal drive. It wasn't them pushing me; it was them supporting me. But there was times when they had to step in. And I remember I lost my first match of the year, and I thought I was all that. I went through the city league undefeated, and I just started throwing a hissy fit. And my mom came out of nowhere and snagged me up by the short hairs and straightened me out. And that's the last time that I lost a match. And it probably wasn't the last time, but it was a long time before I showed my rear end after losing a match. And, she taught me a good lesson right there. And I remember my dad one time, he either expected me to come home and maybe help around the garage or do something, to be doing something, or going to practice, not just laying up playing video games or something like that. And one night he came home and I was laying up playing video games or doing something, worthless. And he comes in and he goes, "You go to practice?" And this was the IWHOF Club practices. And I go, no, I didn't feel like it. And he goes, "Well, next time you get your butt whooped, I guess you know why." And that stuck with me till this day, Dad. I did, Every time I, thought a little bit lazy, maybe I won't go to practice. Maybe I won't do lift weights. That stuck in the back of my head. And I'm like, no, I better go do something. And this last example of my mom, how positive she was. Coach Gable was actually at Don Bosco High School. I was in middle school. I think he was there checking out some of the older guys, and my mom went up to him and said, "My son's going to wrestle for you one day." And I don't even know if you remember that. I'm sure Mom does. I'm sure you don't, Coach. You probably heard a lot. But she was I was like, "What did she just say to him?" God, I better get it done. Can't make my mom a liar. I was extremely blessed with just a great support system. I've got a lot of family, aunts and uncles, my grandmother, just tons of people from Don Bosco here, and just so I had no choice in where I grew up, where I was born, and I was very fortunate to be born in a great situation. Even my neighbors, Harold and Clem Hamilton, they were right next door. They had a son named Mark Hamilton who was 5 years older than me. He ended up being third in the state for East Waterloo. I can remember when he unofficially introduced me to the sport of wrestling. When he learned, the first day he learned a guillotine at practice, I was about 8 or 9 years old. He just said, "Daryl, come over to the house. I got to show you something." And he held me in that guillotine for 25, 30 minutes. And then when he released me, I think a coffee table got into the mix, and I don't know, but he did. He really taught me how to compete. He would drag me along with him. He was 5 years older than me, so I was very fortunate to have him as a neighbor, and I had a lot of cousins. My cousin Matt, is he still here? Oh, he got called? Okay, he had to leave. He's a doctor, but I remember he used to get books from the library that showed judo and karate moves, and we'd practice in the backyard, and I think I probably used a couple of those moves. But so I was just really, really, really lucky. The people I had no choice, I had to be around, were really great people, and really led to develop me as who I am. And then so I got a little bit older, started making thought I was making some of my own choices, and I remember the day I went right into the Don Bosco school system, and I remember the day I was in 5th grade, 10 years old, and Doughboy Scott Becker came into class and did a little demonstration for the wrestling team, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Last time I saw wrestling, I was in a guillotine for half an hour. I think I cut my eye open on the coffee table, so I wasn't quite sure on it, but my buddies were saying, hey, you should try it, Daryl, you should try it. And then Mark, my neighbor Mark, he pretty much told me I better do it, or else. So I started wrestling, and was so fortunate to go into a program like Don Bosco with Coach Mashek, and especially after being a high school coach for so long now, 15. I mean, that's not that long for a lot of you guys, but 15 years. I could appreciate, yeah, exactly. But I can appreciate what he did there. Just the community that he built there, the support that he built, that's rare. I mean, I go out to tournaments all over the country with my team. You don't see it. I mean, it's the community, the program at Don Bosco. It's one of a kind. It really is. I mean, it's extremely special, and I know how hard that is to build that support system and keep it going for umpteen years now. And that was because he surrounded himself with great people. From Doughboy helping out. I got to thank everybody that ever helped that program to continue to go like it is. Tom Kettman was the assistant coach when I was there, and Tom Kettman's role was to scare the living bejesus out of everybody. And you were afraid of Tom Kettman. Now that I've gotten to know him, he's just a teddy bear. But I tell you what, when I was at school, he was the muscle. I didn't mess with him. I didn't make him mad. And then we had Ray Fox. I remember the first day Ray Fox moved back from Texas and came to practice, and I wrestled with him. And right after that, from then on, he was just a great assistant coach. I'm sure everybody probably knows Ray, but he kept things fun. But there was always a little lesson he was trying to teach you. And some of the lessons you probably wanted to forget, and some of them were valuable. But there was a cast of characters there, but they were all hardworking. And Coach Mashek, you got to give him credit. That's just an amazing, amazing thing that he did with the Gilbertville Don Bosco community. And then, like Coach said, I graduated and went on to Iowa. And I look back on that, and it's just my time at Iowa. The older I get, the more I appreciate it. It was just such an amazing environment. Just the tradition, the community, just that era of in any sport. I don't know if there was anything like in any sport. So I look back on that time. It was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of ups and downs, but it was just an amazing, amazing opportunity to be a part of that, something like that. And so I went on a recruiting trip, and the one thing you'll learn about Gable if you're around him enough is he's got these like Jedi mind tricks. So he's really good at knowing what's good for you, but making you realize, not telling you straight out. He'll convince you like in this roundabout way that's right, and then it's my decision, and you sink your teeth into it a little bit more. But Coach Mashek and I guess we talked about where do we go. But I remember my recruiting trip. There was one other guy on the recruiting trip, and when before we left, he came to the House of Lords, where we stayed, and the other guy went in with him, and they had a meeting inside, and they were in there for 20, 30 minutes, and he came out, And Coach Gable just sat on the hood of my car and said, "Yeah, this is what I can do for you. You know, Coach Mashek says good things," and that was it. I'm like, wow, okay. So I went back and we decided Iowa was the place for me. But now that I look back, he just knew how to play me. All right, he knew how to play me. He was pushing my buttons. So you know, I was thinking, well, he's not that interested in me, but I guess that's what motivated me. You know, and it was, you know, the surroundings that I saw there really drew me in. But Gable knew how to work you. Just like my sophomore year, you know, he knew it was probably my best chance to be All-American at 142. He needed help from Joe Williams and Lincoln McElravy to get me down there, but I did it. Got down there and All-American. And then my senior year, it's kind of the same situation. My junior year, I wrestled 58, and Joe Williams was redshirting. Well, the next year, my senior year, Joe's junior year, or sophomore year actually, he was going to be back in the lineup. Well, you know, all year or all off season, you know, everybody's, what are you going to do, Weber? What are you going to do? Joe's going to be back. And, you know, my pride was kicking in, like, I'm going 58. He's going to have to take it from me. The whole time, I'm still in the back of my mind, I'm lifting, and I'm drinking protein shakes, and I'm trying to get big. But the whole time, and I'm sure it was driving, I mean, if it was me, it would be driving me crazy. Like, what is it, Weber? Just go 67. Jeez, you know, he's going to mess the lineup up or whatever. But anyways, so I'm holding steady, at least with my buddies and everybody's asking. And first practice, in the preseason, we would do these long runs. The first practice, Gable goes, and he's never done this before. He goes, all right, we're going to run a 4-mile loop. And he goes, 118 to 158, you guys go this way. 167 and above, you go this way. And right then, I go with the 67. And I mean, really, literally, that's when I committed to it. And we come jogging back in, and he's sitting there, Weber, I noticed you went with the 67s. Yeah, I decided to go 67 this year. He's always working those angles. You got to watch him. But that made him great, you know, because I really thought that it was my decision. My decision. So after my competitive career, I was fortunate. I moved down to Christiansburg, and once again, you know, I was lucky to start coaching high school, and I coached with Kevin Dresser. He was the head coach there for a while, but I was fortunate to be around somebody that had a lot of it. He'd won 8 state championships down there, so I was fortunate to be. You know, if I was going to go into high school wrestling, I was around somebody that had been there, done that, and learned a tremendous amount from him. And he really showed me, and once again, you high school coaches out there, really showed me like how difficult and all the issues that can come up as a high school coach. And if you look at a successful program, you probably think, oh man, they got it so easy over there. No, every program is ups and downs. You're dealing with issues all the time. And he really, that was really valuable for me to see how it all worked and how hard it really was. But when you do get, something thrown at you, that's just how it is, and you got to deal with it, and you got to stay positive, and you got to keep going. So I learned a tremendous amount from him, and then I took over as head coach. I feel like I'm pretty young, and I'm hoping to continue to accomplish a lot of great things. Even though I'm starting to lose a little bit of hair, I'm still feeling pretty good, like I got a lot left in me. So, and I'm pretty confident that I can do that because 6 months ago I got married, and I surrounded myself with a very loving and supportive wife, and so I'm feeling like I'm still, I don't know if I made that decision either, but feeling pretty good about the people that are still around me. So I want to just thank everybody for this opportunity, for the induction into this amazing organization, and congratulate the other inductees, and thank you very much.